Hello, this is Bobby Tewksbury with AB Athletic Development. Tonight we're going to talk about what a running start is, as this is probably a new term for most people. And we're going to talk about how Ryan Braun prepares to swing the bat and talk about different types of takes versus swings. When I watch hitters, and I did this in my playing days and now when I study video, I love to use takes as an evaluation tool, where when the hitter stops their swing, it reveals their swing process. So it's like hitting the brakes halfway through a swing. You can see whatever continuation of movement occurs. You can see what the path of the swing was, how it got there, why it got there, and you can use takes to really identify a better swing versus a less than ideal swing. So in this first clip, we're going to take a look at, on the left, a clean take, which in my opinion is not at all what you want to be doing when you take a pitch that is anywhere near the strike zone. In this clip, he's never loading. He has no intentions of swinging. It's the first pitch of the game that he saw, and he knew that he was never swinging. There was no if he's doing anything, it's just trying to see the release point. Maybe it's the first time facing the pitcher, but he has zero intention of swinging the bat. So if we get this clip rolling through here, we can see he's got all the same prep steps, if that's we can call it prep steps. It's not really important, but he's got all that little tapping. Pitcher's glove side arm is coming through, and we're getting closer to release point. Now at the ball's release, the right clip, it's maybe half frame, quarter of a frame further. The process to this point is very, very similar. He's not giving away that he's not swinging. What he's doing is starting his process, lifting the leg, he's getting back, like we talked about in the Don't Get Your Foot Down Early video. He's getting back, and from there, you can decide to load. And this is where you can really start to see that this is where the load starts. His foot is up, he's back with his loading pattern, striding pattern. He's more of a floating load where he lifts the leg up to get back, and then he moves forward from that point. Up to here, everything's the same. Leg up, ball's released, and this is where you start to see a huge difference in the two pitches that he's reading here. So on the left, we're going to see the hands just stop. They're not going to load any further. Just watch over here. The hands never really go anywhere. The hands are just there. Don't work back. Don't do anything. He lands. Nothing's going on. This is a clean take. Just I'm watching the ball. You can see him watch the ball all the way to the glove. No intention to swing the bat. When we start to look at the swing on the right, we're going to pick up some differences early in this loading process. Where on the left, where his hands stop, we're going to actually see the hands even poke out behind the back of his head. From this angle, you can see the white batting glove. You can see how much his elbow is poking out the back and starting to get the bat in a position where it can get behind him. So he's really getting deeper, far deeper into the loading process. If you look at the barrel on the left, it just stays mostly vertical. On the right, he tips it forward behind his head a little bit, and even the front foot, where not all hitters are, he's probably steps as open as anybody, where sometimes his foot is straight towards center field. There's a lot of differences going on with these two pitches and how he's reading the pitch and deciding what to do with the pitch. So again, hands going back, barrel movement, getting it turned, and at this point we've got a lot of really great things going on. His pelvis has gone from, we go back to here, kind of neutral. He gets closed when he's moving forward from back. The pelvis is closed. When he moves forward from there, the pelvis shifts to be open. The back knee goes down and in. We can see the back knee moving towards the ground, moving forward, down and in. So the back hip, the back hip joint stays closed while the pelvis opens. And this plays a huge role in keeping the weight back, staying back, the whole feel of being back versus letting a change in the joint happen. Where if the joint opens, then you're just going to shift. You're going to be balanced on both legs and have to swing from a non-ideal position. So barrel works back, and at this point, pelvis very much open, barrel's very much behind him, and the swing is really launched from that point. Lots of loading, lots of loading, lots of loading, and now he releases that swing where the barrel has a nice deep path. Right here, everything's open, barrel's still very deep. This frame, you can kind of see it blurry right here. It's starting to come out, and then he's just on that ball. The bat kind of shows up out of nowhere, and he gets a base up the middle. This next clip is a take versus what I call a non-swing. And I think when we look at this, you'll understand the difference in the wording. It's check swing is not a bad term, but it's really an initiation of the swing where the swing is stopped. Not so much he's not pushing his hands forward, stopping and halting something that he's just started. It's either the swing continues or it doesn't. And if we look at this, we're going to see all the same things that we just looked at, excuse me, in the base hit up the middle. Hands working back. We even see the white of the batting gloves, the elbow poking out the back, the front foot landing. It's getting more forward, more open. The same process is happening. Barrel's turning, pelvis is forward, back hip is closed. Everything is happening the same. Barrel's deep, but he's able to stop the swing because he's not launching it. He's not committing to the swing. He's loaded and loaded and loaded and loading and loading and loading, but he never commits to the actual swing. Barrel's turning, barrel's behind him. Something else that we start to see is as he goes forward, we can see a center of gravity drop. His whole body's kind of lowering. And when we look at this next clip, we can see that the back hip is lowered. In this take, the barrel is very, very deep. His hands, you can see, are still very, very, they're not pushed forward at all. They're very deep in relation to where his swing started and where the bat needs to get to. The elbow is cleared, and this is a tricky concept that will have its own topic where we talk about the slotting of the rear elbow and what that actually means and what's actually happening. But the elbow does slot, the hands need to be in control, but the elbow needs to get clear, and we can see that the bat is behind the rear forearm. So if the front side is the side closest to the pitcher, the back side or behind would be towards the backstop, towards the catcher. The bat is behind that forearm. And that's something that initiates when the elbow starts dropping here, and that this is where the barrel's working behind. The big key here is that this is happening even though he doesn't swing at this pitch. This is the process that he needs to go through if the ball is anywhere near the strike zone. If it's a pitch that he knows he's not swinging at, or if the pitcher spikes a curveball, if it's a pitch way up and out of the zone, he does not need to start the process because the ball's never a strike. He can read that pitch, very quickly determine that it's not a strike, and then he doesn't need to go through this whole loading process. He can just shut it down. In certain counts, if you go 2-0 or if you have the take sign 3-0, you know you're taking a pitch. It's a great opportunity to work on your timing, to work on establishing your load against any given pitcher, get comfortable on that day. So it's more experienced hitters will do these clean takes, but it's never a bad thing to work on your timing, work on your load to just better prepare yourself for any kind of pitch that's coming at you next. So the last clip we're going to look at, and we can really see this, the back hip kind of shuts down. So last one we're going to look at, we have the non-swing now, not the clean take, the non-swing on the left and the swing on the right. And we're going to really see how he's getting ready to swing. He's got very, very similar timing. Hits a fastball on the hit. It's a breaking ball on the take or the non-swing. You can see everything. The leg lifting, the barrel movement, the rhythm is the same. Elbow starts working back. If we get to release, pretty similar frame rate where the ball's kind of coming out of the fingertips right here. At this point, everything's the same. Pitcher, a catcher set up outside. You can kind of see that maybe something's going on here because Molina is getting a little more excited. He's a little more ready than on a fastball. I'm pretty sure it was a 0-2 or 1-2 pitch, so maybe something in the dirt. Not something as a hitter you can really be aware of, but something we can look at and kind of expect when we look at the video. So again, elbow works back. We can start to see the white of the batting gloves, so we know that he's getting to very similar positions. Front foot is opening, and we see this now, the lowering of the center of gravity, where the whole body seems to be dropping. We see the knee turning in, where the pelvis is now open. Pelvis is open, rear hip is closed because the relationship between the head of the femur and the pelvis stays the same as he shifts that pelvis to be forward. This is setting up the direction of his swing, getting everything set up to be through the middle. This process happens anytime the ball's near the plate. If he's got any idea that he thinks he might be swinging, all of this needs to happen. And really, this next frame from that point is where things start to change. Before we look at that, we can see the barrel is behind, shoulders are still closed, which will happen, but it's really not that important because the rotation aspect of the swing isn't providing power. It's a directional shift where the pelvis turns forward to create the direction of the swing, where everything is now through the middle. And when we watch the back hip, on the right on the swing, we're going to see a ton of upward thrusting type motion with this back hip. And I've seen it more dramatic with his swing, but if I put the mouse on where the back hip would be, we can see that there's a lot of drive, a lot of hip extension going on here. And on the right, when he shuts it down, that part of the swing just doesn't happen. Kind of hits the brakes, doesn't finish the swing. Again, we can see how deep this barrel is, and that's the same path that his barrel's gone through in the swing. He just never finishes on the left. So this is the running start. The whole concept of the running start is if you had to race somebody, a 20-yard race, but you have a 10-yard head start. So you're going to run 10 yards sprinting. The other person gets to start when you get to the starting line for the last 20 yards. If you have a 10-yard head start, you're going to win that 20-yard race. You're already at a dead sprint. The other person will not be able to accelerate and catch up to you and pass you in that short window of time. With the running start and the swing, Braun is not getting his foot down, getting his hands back, and stopping. It is not a two-piece swing. He is loading to either finish a swing or he's loading to not finish a swing. And the mental process of saying, yes, I'm swinging, swing, 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 until I say no, the pitch tells me not to swing, versus trying to read the pitch, get yourself going, decide if you're going to swing. It's way too quick, especially at the higher levels. You can't just sit around and wait for the ball. You have to be loading. You have to be reading the pitch as it's coming to the plate. So I think with all these clips, with these 3 clips, you can really see the difference between a more static take and a now more dynamic loading process. Braun is a great example of this, and you can see it in many elite hitters, and it's something you can look for when you watch Major League games. So that's what I wanted to cover. Thank you very much for your time, and as always, I'm looking forward to making more and more videos. Thank you very much, and we'll have more coming soon. Thank you.